back and or to the channel. Trucker Rod here with S.E.E. And today, where are we at and what are we doing? Before we get started, if you could, like the video here, the live, and if you can, subscribe to the channel. And if you're just a viewer passing through, really help us out by subscribing to the channel. We're growing, things are happening, and much appreciation. Hit the notification bell if you want to get further updates. So that being said, as we are going to go through this week, I'm going to be live streaming a lot. If I have to do any recording, it's going to have to be off my phone. Boy Genius here, somewhere looked around in the truck here and does not have his GoPro. So therefore, it's either at home. Don't recall. I'm going to assume it's at home by my laptop or it's left in a vehicle. So I just figured that out about 10 minutes before the live. Anyhow, this week, pretty amazing week. The way I like to have it. 19 stops over 4 states. Over 4 states, we have 19 stops. Starting in Columbus, Ohio. So where I'm at now, Bellefontaine, Ohio on US 33, 45 minutes out from my stop here in Columbus at a Love's truck stop. And surprising, I should have came here last week. I was trying to get as close to Columbus as I could, but this didn't pop up on one of my apps I use, and we'll shoot a video on how I use my apps as a tool for the modern day age, like the video or the stream is old school home of new school trucking. So using the apps in the new school way for an old timer like me. But this popped up and I said, I remember this. So I came here, and to be honest, I'm looking right now and there's just dozens of truck parking. So very nice, newer truck stop, newer built, and plentiful parking. So I got here and cherry picked what I wanted. So I've got a nice spot, flat. So yeah, so the 19 stops, that's going to cover, the first 6 is going to cover in central Ohio. I'll come out of Ohio off the by the Ohio River, and I'll shoot down to Roanoke, Virginia, up to Beckley, or actually, no, disregard that. I'll come out of that 6th stop tomorrow. I'll head to Elkins, West Virginia, then to Roanoke, Virginia, then Beckley, West Virginia, then back up to the southern part of Ohio, Athens, and then down along the Ohio River, Proctorville, Ironton, Portsmouth, stuff like that, and then back to central Kentucky, and that'll lead me back up and finish up around Cincinnati. So left on Sunday because I know a lot of my stops, if I start pushing them later in the week, they start ring-a-ling-linging me and figuring out where I'm at. Anyhow, I expect 2,000 plus miles, but it's the way I like it. I thought 15, 16 at first, but when I got in, I started reading the stops, 19, and I said, cool. So anyhow, as we know, been to school, and when a lot of my pre-meds, I did a lot of psychology classes, and a couple of them that really resonated with me. One was patient practitioner psychology class, and that is they sit you down and the instructor sits across from you as a patient. You pretending to be a doctor. You are presented with many scenarios, how to converse and break to a patient or family if they have cancer, if they have lost a loved one, because the surgery didn't go successful. So there's much of that, as a doctor has to be prepped for. So that was one, and I got a lot out of that. Really, it was an eye-opening for me. The second class was when I was at Central Michigan University, was the sociology, and basically understanding different behaviors, different cultures. How to, as a doctor, how you would handle working with a patient that may be from a different country, different culture. So they may have different beliefs and practices compared to what Western medicine here in the United States presents. Therefore, someone backing in, hooking up to their trailer next to me, just making sure they're, yep, good to go. So you got to be respectful, because a lot of them don't believe in a lot of the practices of Western medicine. So you really have to interview them and get an understanding where they come from in their cultural beliefs and their religion standpoint from that culture. So the other one that really always resonated with me for decades now is society norm and age norm. And what is age appropriate normal behavior and society normal behavior? Well, I think it's a good topic to touch on today, because obviously when you look at our society, look at news, everything is turned upside down, inside out, and is in total and utter chaos. And I believe, and that's just my opinion, it's by design, that our society is being broken down by the elitist, global elitist, the Club of Rome, to the World Economic Forum, to the United Nations. They wanted to break down the Western society and make it a unipolar governing body. So with that, as you saw, it started with the 2016 election. 2020 was the worst. This is going to be, I would imagine, this is going to be violence, riots, and brass and lead flying. The 2024. But society norm is, to me, you got to look at people and say, where do they follow lockstep into? I mean, are they a leader or a follower? Do people follow them, or do they follow others that guide them to get through day to day in major decisions? And this is something that I think a lot of people need to look in the mirror and assess themselves before they go out in society. And I want to say pass judgment, because it's been so harsh anymore. I mean, the short reels, I don't care where it's from, if it's TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, where all the short videos are, but because of these people that are having confrontations all the time, or these Karens, these society norm where people are just more enraged, more divided, and I just never seen this before, even growing up. So society norms, when I go back and look from what I grew up with in the 70s and 80s to what we have nowadays, is definitely in a different paradigm than it was then. So you have to assess yourself in the mirror and say, am I a leader or am I a follower? And I think a person really needs to take a hardcore look at themselves for that. And as you saw in the thumbnail there, that is me at the start gate. I did, a decade of BMX Supercross racing, and it helped me get through. Instead of going to therapy, and I had this discussion with my wife last night, I said, a lot of people nowadays, they go to therapists for everything, whether it's dieting, relationships, marriage, job, or just waking up and living in society, they have to see a therapist. Mine was just get on the bike. I was road cycling, mountain biking, but the big thing I enjoyed the most was just getting in the gate and getting the adrenaline running and just racing around the track. So that was my relief. And it definitely gave my son and I many years of bonding as he was growing up to do a father and son thing. Some father and sons do projects together. They hunt, they fish, they camp. We camped a lot at a lot of the tracks, and we traveled a lot. So he definitely got much more exposures. I'd say, 90% more with me than many kids in when he was in Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts, because a lot of them came from broken homes and fathers that left them. So these kids were just looking to be somewhere to get some mentoring from a male guidance standpoint. But age norm, it's funny because that one, I always say to this day, I'm a late bloomer. And that was, I did a lot of stupid things when I look back in my 20s, really spending money on frivolous things that were just downright, why did I do that? Why didn't I go in this direction so I wouldn't have to be working this hard this late in life? But then again, I look, and I stopped BMX racing in my mid 40s. So and I did that because with my wife's medical disabilities, I thought, well, do we need two of us, pushing and pulling each other around in wheelchairs? So the smart thing to do was just grow up and face reality that it's time to, put my big boy pants on. So it's probably been the last 13 years. And that was leading into when I opened my first, business, All Sport and Massage. So from there, it just had to really start thinking forward of, things I wanted to do. And I'm going to have another stream on that. And that one's going to be on what my plan was when I went to chiropractic school. My underlying plan was for that, and with All Sport. I mean, there's a plan in all the businesses I have that are coming this year. I've got a structure and a foundational plan that, just, I'm not going to be a W-2 employee forever. So, with that said, being age norm, when I was racing bicycles, and that's how you got to put it, there was many girls, and I was in my, mid 30s and late 30s, but I was out having a good time with my son. But when I would date or go to date, I was judged very harshly because that wasn't what a female was looking for in a male, to bring something to the table when you're out there running around and just kind of living life by the seat of its pants. But when you're in your 35, 40 years old, girls, for me at least, they were looking for, what are they bringing to the table? Are they stable with a career, with finances, and with like a retirement or investments? And those were the key things I always picked up on. I was not, and like I said, I was a late bloomer getting my stuff together. But and that's why I said you got to look at age norm things you do. Don't let the societal norms. I will say that many people follow lockstep into doing things, and they're influenced a lot by today's marketing, whether you see it on TV, ads on YouTube, people like myself, and they buy into things they don't need. That's our debt-based society, is buying frivolous things that are just meaningless, and at the end of the day they lose their value. They're probably the most appreciating thing you can buy, but overall it is you've really got to watch the information you take in and what is influencing you to move forward every day. So be very aware and smart of the direction you go in a society norm. I am more of a trailblazer. I do things, even though I'm a late bloomer and not so much, I don't follow an age norm bracket, but societal, I definitely don't. I'm in the middle. I don't take either side on a political aisle. I want to hear both sides, and that's the thing is I want to be the the quietest person in the room, but yet just to be the smartest one, to be the smartest person in the room, be the quietest. Shut up, let other people lead the conversation and see where things are going, and only interject if it really pertains to something that's going to be right in your feet, ballpark. Otherwise, I've always, I try to stay. It's hard for me in trucking. In healthcare, I'd stayed out of so many conversations. I just, more or less, I got caught rolling my eyes and stuff like that because it just seemed like little things that were just henpecking. Where trucking, I'm more knowledgeable and I really like to interject, especially with the younger guys. But really, you got to be smart on just being to be the smartest person in that room, to be the quietest. Like I said, in a society norm, be your own person. Don't alter your character or your persona to mirror someone else. And people do that. Young girls, with Instagram. That's why I don't get on Instagram, because I just watch too many young girls trying to influence girls that are coming into age, puberty, and this is the way things should be. This is societal norm. This is the way girls should dress and act and be appropriate, and really it isn't. And I just, the expectations to be like that are unrealistic, and that's what I mean. To be in a society norm, be your own person, be your own trailblazer. Do your due diligence and look into things. Read on things before you're influenced to go in that direction, and that's the best advice I could give you. So like I said, look in the mirror, look at the direction you're taking your life. Sometimes you've got to look behind you to see where you came from, to look ahead and say, am I still on the rails or am I way off the track here? And because the people or the entities that are influencing you are going to really, either you're going to follow lockstep like the sheep, following in everyone else's footsteps and going over the cliff, or guide yourself in your own path, march at your own beat, blaze your own trail. And that's the same with the age norm. Is your wife, after 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, looking at you like, I've married a man-child? And that's what you have to check yourself to make sure, that your wife or your spouse, and I want to say my wife, but for anyone's spouse out there, you got to check yourself now and then to say, you want to be that person they still want to be in love with if you're in a relationship, or if you want to attract someone. Therefore, you really need to look at yourself in that concept of, am I doing things appropriately, or am I just going to be a person, whether male or female, that someone's going to have to hold their hand and babysit them through every day? And that's not what you want to bring to the table for another person to be your caregiver about. Like I said, being a man-child if you're a male. There's times you just got to grow up, and that's the plain and simple truth. It took me a while, and I finally got it together. And since the post-pandemic, I have really put my head into finances, financial education, economic, and investing, because I don't want to be doing this truck driving forever, but I don't plan on retiring. And when I say that, I'm going to be always pushing buttons on a computer and making money some way, somehow, that I can still do it in my 80s. To say you're retired and just going to sit around and mow the grass and go fishing and this and that and then sit and watch TV, hey, that's fine. If you want to do that, kudos to you. But then those people fall into the fixed income rate, and then with inflation going rampant right now, um, you're setting yourself up to die uh, financially. That's why I said, I'm not going with the society norm. That's me. And this is where I'm getting to the point is the society norm is I'm not looking at 65, 67, 70 years old and then, I'll walk away from everything. I'll pull my retirements and I'll sit back. No, I'm going to keep marching on through my 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s till I'm dead and cremated and gone. But that's my whole thing is just working to cash flow. And as the money grows and the investments grow, I will hedge those over into a trust that can be a legacy of leaving towards my kids. That's my whole goal there. And that's why these businesses coming up is going to be all the purpose to leverage me and make I want to say a fork in the road where I can start taking that path and start working towards something that's going to be more beneficial for my home front, for my spouse and I, and for my own mental health, for years to come. So that's that in a nutshell, folks. I just wanted to touch on that, and I think some people just kind of lose track and don't worry about what you're seeing on the news or in the advertisements. Make your own judgments. Look yourself in the mirror and say, is this where I want to be in life? Is this who I want to be in life? And is the person I'm with getting tired of me because I haven't changed to the point of, have I grown up? Have I done anything to further myself? Because, sometimes being complacent can also have its withdrawals in a relationship. So keep that in mind, as not only a relationship, but as a person who's a friend or other family members who may just get bored of you or tired of your antics, whether it's age or society norm. So take a look at yourself, and that's what I always tell people. Look at yourself in the mirror first, especially when I went through a divorce. I looked in the mirror. I didn't go after and rile any feathers up. I just looked in the mirror and I said, I wouldn't want to be with me either, and it took me years to change who I was to become someone totally different. And I think many people from 20 plus years ago could say that now. I am not the screw off goofball I was 25, 23 years ago. So we got to make changes, and I think it starts with all of us. So wrap it up there. You all have a great day. Stay safe out there. Continuing educating yourself. It's what's going to help you just mature and grow. It's that knowledge. And remember, that knowledge is learned, not taught. And we will see you in the next video.